Close your eyes for just a second and stand in your grandmother's kitchen in 1974. Go ahead. You can smell it, can't you? Coffee percolating on the back burner, something baking, a whiff of dish soap and warm linoleum, the avocado-green refrigerator humming in the corner, and on every counter, every shelf, every hook on the wall there was a thing, a real, solid, honest thing that did its job and lasted 20 years. We had 30 of them, give or take, in nearly every American kitchen back then. And here's what nobody tells you. 5 of those 30 things would save you real money today, right now, in this expensive year of ours, if only we'd remember to use them the way she did. I'm going to count through all 30 with you, one at a time, and then near the end I'll tell you exactly which 5 still put money back in your pocket. Keep count with me. There's a payoff coming. So pour yourself a cup, find your good chair, the one that fits you just right, and settle in with me a while. We're going to walk through that 1970s kitchen together, drawer by drawer, shelf by shelf, and remember the things that filled it. Some of them you'll have forgotten you ever owned. Some of them you'll wish you still had. And 5 of them, I promise you, you'll want to go dig out of the basement the minute we're done. And while you settle in, do me a small kindness. Tell me down in the comments where you grew up and what color your mother's kitchen was. Harvest gold, avocado green, that coppery orange? I'd love to know. There's a whole childhood hiding in the color of a kitchen if you know how to look. Now, let's open the door and begin. Number 1. The avocado green or harvest gold refrigerator. Big, round-shouldered, heavy as a safe, and it ran for decades without a single complaint. You remember the color, that soft green or that warm gold, because every appliance in the room matched it, the stove, the dishwasher, the little hand mixer on the counter. There was no stainless steel pretending to be fancy. There was just that cheerful green box, full of glass bottles and foil-wrapped leftovers, with children's drawings held to the door by little fruit-shaped magnets. It hummed all day and all night like a heartbeat in the house, and when something inside it stopped working, a man came and fixed it, because it was built to be fixed, not thrown away. Today's refrigerators are prettier and quieter, and they last about 8 years if you're lucky. That old green one would still be running. Number 2. The electric percolator. Before the drip machine, before the little plastic pods, there was the percolator, and oh, the sound of it. That gentle gurgle and pop as the coffee climbed up the little glass knob on top, getting darker with every cycle. You could hear it from the next room, and you could smell it from clear across the house, and that smell pulled the whole family toward the kitchen on a cold morning like a hand on the shoulder. It made strong, honest coffee, and it made a lot of it. Enough for the whole table and the neighbor who dropped by. No filters to buy, no pods to throw away. Just water, grounds, and a little patience. We traded all that for speed, and I'm not always sure we came out ahead. Number 3. The Tupperware. Now here was a thing your mother was proud of. That whole cabinet of colored plastic bowls and tumblers with the lids that sealed with a satisfying little burp. You bought it at a party in somebody's living room with little sandwiches and a lady showing you how the seal kept the lettuce crisp for a week, and it lasted. My word, did it last. That same orange bowl held the potato salad at every picnic for 30 years. The lids never cracked, and if one ever did, the company replaced it free. Nothing about it was disposable. You washed it, you stacked it, you used it again, and you handed it down to your daughter. Remember that one. It comes back at the end. Number 4. The cast iron skillet. Black as midnight, heavy enough to be a weapon, and seasoned by 50 years of bacon and cornbread until it was smoother than any nonstick pan ever made. Your grandmother never washed it with soap. She just wiped it clean and rubbed a little fat into it, and it got better every single year. It fried the eggs, it baked the cornbread, it seared the Sunday roast, and it went from stovetop to oven without a second thought. You could drop it and it wouldn't break. You could pass it down for 100 years. That skillet wasn't a purchase. It was an heirloom. Hold that thought. We'll come back to it, because it matters more than you know. Number 5. The metal canister set. There they sat on the counter, 4 of them in a row, biggest to smallest, flour, sugar, coffee, tea, painted right on the front in cheerful letters. Tin or aluminum, often in that same harvest gold or daisy pattern, with snug little lids. Your grandmother bought flour and sugar in big sacks and poured them into those canisters where the bugs and the damp couldn't get them. They kept everything fresh and close at hand, and they looked like home sitting there. You don't see them much now. We buy the bag and leave it half open in the pantry and wonder why the flour goes stale. The old way was tidier, and it wasted less. Number 6. The bread box. A metal box on the counter with a roll top or a little door, and inside it, the bread, homemade more often than not, wrapped in a clean towel, kept just right, not too dry and not too damp. The bread box knew something we've forgotten, that bread keeps better on the counter than in the cold, where it goes stale fast. Your grandmother baked 2 or 3 loaves at a time, and that box held them, and the whole kitchen smelled of yeast on baking day. Keep this one in mind, too. There's real money hiding in that humble little box. Number 7. The Pyrex bowls. The nesting set, the cheerful colored ones, the blue and the red and the yellow and the green, each one tucking neatly inside the next. And the casserole dishes with the patterns, the snowflakes, the wheat, the daisies. They went in the oven, they went on the table, they went in the icebox with a lid. Glass that lasted, glass you could see through, glass that didn't stain or hold a smell. Some of those bowls are 70 years old now and still going strong, prettier than anything you can buy today. Remember Pyrex. It's one of the 5. Number 8. The electric can opener. Mounted right there under the cabinet or sitting proud on the counter, with that little magnet that caught the lid so it didn't fall in the soup. You set the can up against it, pressed the lever, and it whirred its way around with a sound every kid of that era can still hear. It felt like the future. It felt like luxury. Half the time, the hand crank one in the drawer worked just as well. But oh, that electric one made you feel modern, made you feel like the Jetsons had moved into your kitchen. A small joy, but a real one. Number 9. The rotary egg beater. Before the electric mixer ruled the counter, there was this clever little hand tool, the one with the crank on the side that spun 2 beaters in a blur. You held the handle, you turned the crank, and you whipped the eggs or the cream or the pancake batter with your own arm and a little gumption. No batteries, no cord, no noise but the soft whir of the gears. It never broke, and it never needed charging. Your grandmother could whip cream with it before you could find the outlet. There's a quiet wisdom in a tool that runs on nothing but you. Number 10. The meat grinder. The heavy one that clamped onto the edge of the kitchen table with a wing screw, all iron and elbow grease. You fed it the tough cuts and the leftover roast and turned the crank, and out came the ground meat for the meatloaf, the hash, the sausage. Nothing was wasted. The Sunday roast became Tuesday's hash because that grinder made it so. It taught a whole generation that you don't buy a thing already done when you can do it yourself for half the price. That lesson is worth more today than it's ever been. Now, before we go on, let me say this. If you've been nodding along, if these old things are lighting up corners of your memory you'd forgotten were there, then I'd be so glad to have you sitting with us regular. Just tap that subscribe button, no fuss, no trouble. We're a gentle bunch here, folks who remember, folks who believe the old kitchen had something worth keeping. You belong with us. Now, back to the shelf. Number 11. The pressure cooker. That heavy pot with the locking lid and the little weight that jiggled and hissed on top and made a sound that, I'll be honest, scared the children a little. But your grandmother wasn't scared of it. She knew it turned the cheapest, toughest cut of meat into a tender Sunday dinner in a fraction of the time and a fraction of the fuel. Dried beans that took all day on the stove were done in under an hour. It saved time, it saved money, it saved the gas bill. Remember the pressure cooker. It's one of the 5 that still pays you back, and I'll tell you exactly why later on. Number 12. The crock pot. The slow cooker, that brown and orange wonder with the flowers on the side. Your mother filled it in the morning with a cheap cut of meat and some vegetables and a little broth, plugged it in, and went about her day. By supper time, the whole house smelled like heaven and dinner was done, no fuss, no standing over the stove. It made the toughest, cheapest meat fall off the bone. It used hardly any electricity. And it meant a hot, home-cooked meal even on the busiest day. The crock pot was frugality you could plug in, and it's still sitting in plenty of cabinets today, waiting. Number 13. The fondue set. Now here's one that takes you right back to a particular kind of evening. The little pot on its stand with the flame underneath, and the long forks with the colored tips so you knew which one was yours, and everybody gathered round dipping bread into melted cheese or fruit into chocolate. It was the height of sophistication in 1974, the centerpiece of every dinner party, a gift every newlywed received. Most of them ended up in the back of the cupboard within a few years, I'll grant you. But for a while there, that little pot brought people together around a table, laughing, sharing, dipping, and there's something to that. Number 14. The recipe box. That little wooden or tin box on the shelf, full of index cards, each one written out by hand, splattered with batter and gravy and love. Your grandmother's handwriting, and her mother's before her, recipes traded with neighbors and clipped from the back of the flour sack, Aunt Mildred's pound cake, the Christmas cookies, the chili that won the church supper. It wasn't on a phone, it wasn't in a cloud somewhere. It was right there, real, in her own hand, and when she was gone, that box was the most precious thing in the house. If you still have one, you hold on to it. There's no price on that. Number 15. The cookie jar. The ceramic one shaped like an apple, or a hen, or a fat little chef, sitting on the counter where small hands could just barely reach if they stood on tiptoe. And the lid. Oh, that lid always clinked just loud enough that your grandmother heard you from the other room and called out, "Just one!" Inside were the oatmeal cookies, the snickerdoodles, the ginger snaps, all made from scratch. That jar was the heart of the kitchen, the first place a grandchild went. Empty or full, it meant somebody loved you. They sell empty ones in the antique stores now for good money, and folks pay it gladly, just to have that feeling back. Number 16. The dish drainer. The wire or plastic rack beside the sink, with a little tray underneath to catch the drips, and the dishes standing up to dry in the air the honest way. There was no dishwasher in most kitchens, or if there was, you saved it for company. The everyday dishes got washed by hand in a basin of hot soapy water, rinsed, and stood up in that drainer, and that was often when the real talking happened, one washing, one drying, the day's news passing between them over the suds. The dish drainer used no electricity at all. It still doesn't. Tuck that away. Number 17. The wall phone with the long cord. Mounted right there in the kitchen, usually that same harvest gold or avocado-green, with a cord that stretched and stretched and stretched all the way around the corner so your mother could talk and stir the gravy at the same time. That cord got tangled into 1,000 little curls, and that phone was the nerve center of the whole house. Every bit of family news came through it, the good and the bad, while somebody leaned against the counter twirling that cord. One phone for the whole family, and somehow we managed just fine. Closer maybe than we are now, with one in every pocket. Number 18. The toaster. Chrome, gleaming, heavy, with the rounded edges that reflected the whole kitchen back at you, stretched and funny. You could see your face in it. 2 slices at a time, the lever pushed down with a satisfying clunk, and the wires glowing orange inside while you waited. It lasted forever. When the cord frayed, somebody rewired it. When it browned unevenly, you learned its ways and turned the bread around. That chrome toaster outlasted 3 cheap plastic ones we'd buy today, and it looked a sight better doing it, sitting there shining on the counter like a little piece of treasure. Number 19. The melamine dishware. That hard, colorful, unbreakable plastic dinnerware, the kind in the bold patterns that you could drop on the floor and it would just bounce. Every family had a set, often the everyday dishes, while the real china waited in the cabinet for Sundays and holidays. The children ate off the melamine because it survived them. It came in those wonderful 70s colors, the burnt orange, the gold, the brown, often with a flower pattern around the rim. It stacked, it traveled, it picnicked, and it lasted through a whole childhood of drop plates and roughhousing, cheerful, sturdy, and practically immortal. Number 20. The S&H Green Stamp Catalog. Now this one the young folks won't believe. Every time you bought groceries or gas, they handed you these little green stamps, and you took them home and licked them and stuck them into books, page after page, the whole family helping, and when you'd filled enough books, you took them down to the redemption center and traded them for a toaster or a lamp or a set of those very dishes we just talked about. It was loyalty rewards before anybody used the word. A whole drawer in the kitchen held those half-finished stamp books, and there was real joy in finally filling one. We worked for our treats back then, and we treasured them more for it. And let me pause right here a moment, because you've been so kind to sit with me this long. We're 2/3 of the way through, and I haven't forgotten my promise to you. 5 of these 30 things still save real money today, and we're getting close to the telling of it. But first, if any of this is warming your heart tonight, if you can smell that percolator or hear that phone cord stretching, do an old fellow a favor and subscribe so we can sit together like this again soon. There's a whole shelf left to go. Let's get back to it. Number 21. The spice rack. That little wooden shelf on the wall, or the turning carousel on the counter, with the matching jars all labeled in a neat row. Most of them, if we're honest, were half empty and a few years past their best, but they looked wonderful, and they held the basics, the cinnamon and the paprika and the bay leaves and the sage that made the holiday stuffing. It was often a wedding gift, that rack, and it hung on the kitchen wall for a generation. A little touch of order, a little touch of pride, spices lined up like soldiers ready to make supper taste like something. Number 22. The rolling pin. Wood, smooth, worn, pale in the middle where her hands always gripped it, usually with the red painted handles. It rolled the pie crust and the biscuit dough and the Christmas cookies, dusted with flour on the kitchen table. And it did double duty, didn't it, as the thing that gently kept order when the children got too wild, though it never struck a soul? A good rolling pin lasted 3 generations. Hers came from her mother, and yours, if you're lucky, came from her. Simple, honest, perfect at its one job, and asking nothing in return but a wipe and a place in the drawer. Number 23. The colander. The metal one with the little feet and the holes punched all through it, dented from years of use, that drained the spaghetti and rinsed the garden beans and washed the strawberries. It hung on a hook or lived in the deep drawer, and it never wore out, because what's to wear out on a bowl with holes in it? Aluminum, sometimes that speckled enamelware. It did its quiet job decade after decade. You shook it over the sink with 2 hands and the steam rose up into your face. Some things are just right the way they are, and the colander was one of them. Number 24. The cookie press. That clever metal tube with the crank or the trigger, and the little discs that shaped the dough into trees and wreaths and flowers, the spritz cookies that came out at Christmas. Your grandmother loaded it with buttery dough and pressed those perfect little shapes onto the baking sheet, row after row, and you got a help, and half of yours came out crooked, and nobody minded. It made the holidays the holidays. It came in a tin box with all its little discs, and it lasted forever, and the smell of those cookies baking is in your memory right now, I'd bet on it. Number 25. The milk glass bowls. That creamy white glass, sometimes with the hobnail bumps or the scalloped edges, that caught the morning light so pretty on the windowsill. Mixing bowls, serving dishes. The little dish where she kept the butter. It looked delicate, but it was tough as nails, and it had a warmth to it that clear glass never had. a softness, like the kitchen itself. Folks collect it now, hunt for it at the estate sales, because they don't make it like that anymore, and the pieces that survived are little treasures, glowing white and solid in your hand. Number 26. The metal ice trays. The aluminum ones with the lever, the handle you pulled up to crack the cubes loose with that wonderful sharp sound. No bag of ice from the store, no fancy maker in the door of the fridge. You filled the tray at the tap, slid it into the freezer, and yanked that lever when you wanted ice for the iced tea. Sometimes the lever stuck. Sometimes you had to run it underwater, but it worked, and it lasted forever, and it never once needed a filter or a repairman. Simple, sturdy, and it cost you nothing but a little tap water. Keep that in the back of your mind, too. Number 27. The kitchen towel on the oven door. Always there, draped over the handle. That flour sack towel or the embroidered one with the days of the week stitched in. A little chicken for Monday, a little teapot for Tuesday. She dried her hands on it. She pulled the hot pans with it. She wiped a child's face with it. And when it wore thin, it became a rag, and when the rag wore out, it became a polishing cloth. Nothing was thrown away while it still had one more use left in it. That towel saw the whole life of the kitchen, hanging right there, ready. Number 28. The trivet. The little metal or tile stand that protected the table from the hot pot, often shaped like a sunflower or rooster, sometimes hung on the wall as decoration when it wasn't working. Cast iron, or that pretty wrought iron, or a ceramic tile with a Pennsylvania Dutch design. It cost almost nothing, and it saved the good table from 100 scorch marks. A small thing, a humble thing, but every kitchen had 2 or 3, and they did their honest duty under the casserole and the coffee pot for 50 years without a word of thanks. Number 29. The apron. Hanging on its hook by the door, and tied on the moment she walked into the kitchen, the bib apron or the half apron with the deep pockets, often made from those very flour sacks or sewn from a cheerful cotton print. It kept her dress clean through the frying and the canning and the floury business of bread, and it had pockets for the clothespins and the eggs from the hen house. She wiped her hands on it and dried a tear on it and carried kindling in it. When you saw that apron go on, you knew good things were coming from that stove. It was the uniform of love, plain and simple. Number 30. And here's number 30, the last one. The dish soap and the simple, honest cleaning under that sink. 1 bottle of dish soap, a box of baking soda, a jug of vinegar, a bar of soap, and maybe a can of scouring powder. That was the whole arsenal, and it cleaned the entire kitchen top to bottom. The baking soda scrubbed the sink and freshened the fridge and rose the biscuits too. The vinegar shined the windows and cut the grease. No cabinet stuffed with 40 different bottles, each one for a single job, each one marked up and sold to you on a promise. Just a few honest things that did everything. We've made cleaning a whole lot more expensive than it ever needed to be. Well, now, there they are, all 30 of them, the whole 1970s kitchen laid out on the table between us. Did you keep count? 30 things. Every one of them familiar, every one of them holding a piece of who we were. And now I'm going to keep the promise I made you at the very start. Because 5 of those 30 things, just 5, aren't only memories. They'll save you real, honest money today, this very week, if you pick them back up and use them the way she did. Let me lay those 5 out for you now, with a little extra weight, because this is the part you can actually use tomorrow morning. The first money saver is the cast iron skillet. Number 4. Here's why it matters. A good cast iron skillet costs you almost nothing up front, and it never ever needs replacing. Think of all those non-stick pans you've bought over the years. The ones that scratch and peel and warp and end up in the trash every couple of years, costing you $40, $50 each time. Again and again. The cast iron pan, cared for the simple old way, with just a wipe and a little oil, lasts 100 years and gets better with age. Buy one good one, or better yet, find your grandmother's, and you will never buy a frying pan again as long as you live. That's not a small saving, that's a lifetime of them. The second money saver is the pressure cooker, and right alongside it, the crock pot. Numbers 11 and 12. These two are the secret weapons of a careful kitchen, and here's the heart of it. They take the cheapest cuts of meat in the whole store, the tough chuck, the shank, the dried beans that cost pennies, and they turn them into the most tender, delicious, nourishing meals you'll eat all week. The expensive tender cuts, you don't need 'em. These pots make the cheap stuff taste like Sunday. The pressure cooker does it fast and saves you on the energy bill too, and the crock pot does it slow while you're away, hardly sipping any electricity at all. Cook the cheap cuts low and slow, and the most expensive aisle in the grocery store stops being your problem. That's money back in your pocket every single week. The third money saver is the Pyrex and the glass storage. Number 7. Here's the takeaway, and it's a good one. We spend a fortune now on disposable storage, the plastic bags, the throwaway containers, the foil and the plastic wrap, used once and thrown out, bought again and again, week after week, year after year. Good glass storage, the Pyrex with a lid, you buy once and use for 50 years. It doesn't stain, it doesn't hold a smell, it goes from freezer to oven to table, and it never needs replacing. Stop buying the throwaway. Start using the glass, and you'll be shocked how much you save over a year, and you'll waste a whole lot less food too, because you can see what's in it. The fourth money saver is the bread box, and what it really stands for, the habit of baking and keeping your own bread. Number 6. Now hear me on this. A loaf of decent bread at the store runs you $4, $5, $6 now. A loaf you bake at home costs you well under $1 in flour and yeast, under $1, and it's better bread, honest bread, with nothing in it you can't pronounce. The bread box is the symbol of that whole old habit, keeping your homemade bread fresh on the counter the right way so none of it goes to waste. Bake on a quiet Saturday, keep it in the box, and you'll eat like a king for a fraction of what that store bread costs. That's the kind of saving that adds up to real money over a year. And the fifth money saver, the one that ties the whole thing together, is the Tupperware, the reusable storage, against the mountain of disposable we buy today. Number 3. This is the deepest lesson of that whole kitchen, and it's this. They reused and we throw away. That generation bought a thing once and used it for 30 years. We buy the disposable version over and over, the paper towels, the plastic wrap, the throwaway containers, and every single one is a little sale to somebody, a little leak in your pocket that never stops dripping. Pick up the reusable container, the cloth towel, the glass jar, the real thing that lasts, and you plug that leak for good. It's the same wisdom your grandmother lived by without ever thinking about it. Buy it once, use it forever, waste nothing. So there are your 5. The cast iron skillet, the pressure cooker and crock pot, the Pyrex and glass storage, the bread box habit, and the reusable Tupperware over disposable. 5 things out of 30. All of them already in your memory, maybe still in your basement, that will save you honest money the day you start using them again. None of it is hard. None of it asks you to be poor or to go without. It's just the quiet wisdom of people who knew the true value of a thing and refused to let it slip through their fingers. You know, I've thought a great deal about that kitchen, and about the woman who ran it. She didn't have much, by today's measure. 1 phone on the wall, a green refrigerator, a handful of pots and a cast iron pan, and a recipe box in her own handwriting. But she fed a family every single day, 3 meals made by hand, eaten together around a table, and she did it on careful money and old wisdom and love. She wasted nothing. She made one good thing stretch across a week, and she filled that kitchen with a warmth that no amount of stainless steel and shiny gadgets can buy today. We have so much more than she ever dreamed of, and yet I wonder, sometimes, if we have less. That's the thing I most want you to carry away tonight. The real wealth of that kitchen was never in the things themselves. It was in the carefulness, the attention, the refusal to waste a scrap or a penny or a moment. We can have that again, you and I. It's not lost. It's just waiting in the basement, in the cupboard, in the memory, patient as that cast iron skillet, for us to pick it back up. So, here's what I'd love from you tonight. Down in the comments, tell me this one thing. Which single item from your grandmother's kitchen do you wish you still had, more than any other? The cookie jar? The percolator? Her recipe box in her own hand? Tell me which one, and tell me why, because somebody reading needs to hear it, and together we can keep these old memories from fading away for good. I read every single one, and I treasure them. And if you've enjoyed standing in that old kitchen with me, if it brought back the smell of the coffee or the sound of that phone cord stretching round the corner, then do an old fellow a kindness and subscribe so we can do this again real soon. Next time, I want to take you out to the garden and show you 7 things every grandmother grew in her backyard that quietly fed the family all summer long and cost almost nothing at all. You won't want to miss it. We'll keep the old wisdom alive together, you and I, one story at a time. So pour yourself one more cup, hold your people a little closer, and remember that the richest things in this life were never the ones with the highest price tag. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.